Greetings everyone. Today we're going to explore translated form of linear functions. You're already familiar with slope-intercept form, point-slope form. Now we're going to work on translated form and start with lines because eventually we're moving into much more complicated functions. So you should have a foldable for this section, and let's talk a little bit about translated form. We use this when we're writing an equation of a line or when graphing when given a point and a slope. So you might be thinking, well, if I'm familiar with point-slope form, it's almost the same thing. So let's talk about this layout. If I talk about the variable h, h represents how much you have translated or shifted left or right. Now be careful. You'll notice the formula has a subtraction sign. What that means is your h is going to go the opposite direction of the sign it has. So for example, if it says x minus 2, that means right 2. If it says x plus 5, that means left 5. H is a little bit easier to remember because we can think of it as a horizontal shift. Let's talk about the variable k. K is how much your graph is shifted or translated up or down. Its sign in the formula is a plus sign, which means the shifts are as they seem. For example, if I have a plus 7, that means my graph is shifted up 7. If I have a minus 10 on the end, that means it's shifted down 10. So let's apply this to make it a little bit easier to understand. For example 1, we're going to write the equation of a line that passes through the given point and has the given slope. So I'm going to start off with my y equals. Think of what you know. You know y equals mx plus b, right? You know that m is always the slope, and you know that b is the y-intercept. Well, now that's the y shift. So I'm going to start off with my slope. What is different is this x. The x is now contained in parentheses and deals with your x value. Remember, the opposite sign applies. So if it's at negative 2, we actually write plus 2. That's going to be the biggest change to remember. We're then going to take a look at what we're adding or subtracting for our vertical shift. If my y value is minus 5, we leave it as is. That means down 5. Let's take a look at example 2. We want to write the equation of a line that passes through these given points. Now, in order to use any form of a line, we need the slope. And I don't have that yet, so I have to do a little bit of work. What two words do we use to describe slope? Rise over run. Think about that. Rise is y's, run is x values. So if I'm trying to find the difference in my y's and the difference in my x's, that will lead me to remembering the equation for slope between 2 points. So I'm going to choose 3 minus 7. Those are my y values. Remember to line them up. If I started with 3, I have to start with 2 for my x's. 2 minus 4. So now we have a negative 4 over negative 2, which simplifies to positive 2. If you need help with remembering how to find slope, let me know. We've got a few other video options. I now know my slope. I can start writing my equation. Y equals 2. Let's think about our x. Now here you have to make a choice. You can choose, if you're not told, you can choose which point to use. So I'm just going to use the first one. My x value says 2. So remember, in parentheses, that means I'm going to write subtract 2. If I would physically go right 2, the formula has the opposite sign. Let's use the matching y value. So if I have a positive 3, that means it's shifted vertically 3 up. Now, you don't have to write it down, but if you did choose to use the other point, you would still have the same slope. Your x value says 4, so it would say x minus 4. And your y value is 7, so it would be plus 7. Let's take a look at example 3. We want to write the equation of a line that passes through the given point and is perpendicular to the function of 1/3 x plus 3. First thing I need is slope. Well, let's look at this equation. We're talking perpendicular to this line. Well, this line's slope is 1/3. Do you remember how to find the perpendicular slope? We want the opposite reciprocal. So my slope is -3. If you need help with perpendicular and parallel rules, just let me know. We've got some video options. Let's start writing our equation. I'm going to start off with y equals my slope. If it has to go through this point here, then I have to use this x value. So if it says write 4 in the point, I write -4 with my x value. Don't forget the opposite sign. My y value is a +1, which means it's a vertical shift, up 1. On the next 2 slides, I'm going to have you try off to the side, outside of the foldable if needed. Just try these few examples. I'm not going to go through all the steps, so if you would pause, work on them, and then check your answer. All right, so the answer for this one can be either f of x equals 3, the quantity x plus 4 plus 2, or f of x equals 3 times the quantity x plus 3 plus 5. I'm going to have you try this one too. Please pause the video and then check your answer. For this one, your answer should have been f of x equals 2 times the quantity x plus 4 followed by -1. And there you have it. Now you know how to write the form of a line in translated form. So make sure you remember about the horizontal shift and paying attention to, is it a plus or a minus? That's very unique. The vertical shift, or your K value, that should be pretty easy compared to the H. If you have any questions, make sure you let me know. Check Google Classroom for anything that you need to get done. And until next time, have a good one.